So today we start a little bit of a new sugya. I mean, it's related to the previous sugya that we spoke about a choletz and the lav with regard to the choletz if he wants to marry her, the chalutza. And we have here a little bit of an introduction, but let's first put our finger on the place. We're up to Itmar on Daf Yudah at Beis, approximately 15 lines down from the top of the Amud. And the first word in the line is Sarah. And then it starts It. So by way of introduction, if a person, a Yavam, gives Chalitza, and that's Mafkia the Zika, he now completely undermines the mitzvah of Yibum. He chose that alternative. But nevertheless, she doesn't go back to the original Isur Kares of Eishes Ach, because there was a mitzvah. So it was Eishes Ach b'makom mitzvah. So the Eishes Ach b'makom mitzvah, before he implemented his Chalitza, removed the erev of Eishes Ach. Ella, but we're going to derive a separate Yalfusa for the Isur after Chalitza. And that's an Isur Lav. And it's derived from the Pasuk in Kitese, in the Parashat Chalitza. It says, Kacha ye'aseh la'ish asher lo yivne es beis achiv. And we derive from this, Kevon shelo bana es beis achiv, instead of building the house through Yibum, ela chalatz, Shuv asur lo livnosa b'lav oleh. And that's a separate lav, lo yivne. Lo yivne means he can't build her house. Why? Because lo yivne, because he decided not to fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum. And that's called kevin shelo bana, shuv lo yachol livnos. And the reason why the drasha is meaningful is because at the base of it, he says, the pasuk is redundant. Why? Because we would logically derive the Isur of the Choletz with the Chalutza, because since he did not fulfill the mitzvah of Yibum, then we're back to square one, which is the erev of Eishes Ach. And therefore, we would know that he cannot marry her after Chalitza. So therefore, the pasuk itself is completely redundant. It's unnecessary. Why does he have to tell me lo bana, right? Lo yivna. The answer is kidei lenatek es hachalutza mikari shel eishes ach. The Torah wanted to indicate that it's not the way you thought, that since there's no yibum anymore, we go back to the erev of eishes ach. We do not. But rather, a new Isur Lav of Lo Yivne, and it's Chayvi Lav and nothing. Itmar, Acholetz Liyavinto, V'chaza V'kitch. Illegally, he married her. But now, he creates what we call Tfisas Kiddushin, the Ichus Iskal. And the reason for that is because Kiddushin Tosim B'chayvi Lav. Once the Ichus Iskal, then with his death, Charlotte, we have a Zikas Yibum. The Zikas Yibum to the other brothers is engendered by the Ishus. We have Ishus because although he deserves 39 lashes for this marriage, but nevertheless the marriage is valid. And with his death, there is a Zikas Yibum. Omrei Shlokish. Now here we'll take a quick peek at Sir Sadi Beis, which I think is here on the top left. So he has Reuven, Shimon, and Levi Yehuda brothers. Nasa Yehuda es Sarah ves Rivka. Umeis Yehuda below Bud. Why? Naflu Nasha Lifnei Echav Lib. The Chalatz Levi with Sarah. So Levi gave Chalitza to Sarah. V'chaza v'kitcha. And then he married Sarah. So with Levi's death, Sarah falls for Yibum to Shimon and Reuven. Why? Because although Levi had no right legally to marry Sarah after he gave her Chalitza, nevertheless, the marriage is valid. And with the death of Levi, she falls for Yibum to Reuven and Shimon. Omrei Shlokish, who ein chayav ala chalutza kares, ha'achim chayavan ala chalutza kares. This new Iser, which we said was menate the chiyuv kares, it undermines the chiyuv kares, is exclusive to the cholitz, says Reish Lakish. It has no impact as far as the other brothers are concerned, because in that situation, there's no yibum, there was already chalitza, and we go back to the original Iser kares of Eishesach. It's only when the Torah says lo yivneh, addressing the cholitz, that the Torah is now being menatek the original Iser kares and replacing it with an Iser la. But the Achim, they didn't implement chalitza. They don't have the status of a cholitz, so the Torah never spoke to them and addressed them with lo yivneh. And therefore, we go back to our original havamina, our premise or our position that the Iser Erva of Eishes Achiv, if there's no mitzvah yibur, is in full force. And as we mentioned yesterday, this is a little bit of a theory of relativity, because now it turns out that relative to the brothers, she's an Iser Eishesach and Erva. Relative to that one brother who implemented chalitza, she is an Iser la. And that doesn't bother Reish Lakish. It's going to bother Rabbi Yochanan, but it's not bothering Reish Lakish. Now we have another question that we want to address. That is the status of Rivka, the Tsar. Let's just see what happens. Levi was married to both Sarah and Rivka. Sorry, scratch it. Yehuda was married to both Sarah and Rivka. And Yehuda dies. Now Levi gives chalitza to Sarah, and then he marries Sarah. That's the status of Rivka. Levi married Sarah, he didn't marry Rivka. Reading his he always has below the diagram, he's got this addition, like almost footnotes in a dark print. So he says, Avo Rivka lo Levi, Shitas Reish Lakish Asura Bekaris. Wait a minute, this is a little confusing to me. Rivka was married to Yehuda, and therefore, as far as the brothers are concerned, Rivka is H. Okay. So Rivka lo Levi, the Shitas Reish Asura Bekares, Shemikeven Shepaka Zika Sayibum Bechalitzaso Shel Sarah Chazor Rivka Lios Ke'eshes Ach Sheyesh Lo Ponim Yasur B'Kares. שרק לגבי החלוץ עצמו, גרסא התורה, שיש רק לאו, וכן לגבי שאר האחים, אסורוס בין בשר, בין ברבקה בקריס, שכיוון שפוקע בחליצת לוי, עוזר על כולם איסר אשס אח. Again, as far as Sarah is concerned, the Iser Ashes Ach is a result of the fact that Levi's marriage removes the Zikas Yibum. Forget about Levi's marriage. Levi's Chalitz removes the Zikas. But once you remove the Zikas Yibum, Reish Lakish is right that there's an Isra Shesach on the brothers. Now let's look at Rivka. The Torah of Rivka, it's the exact same mold. That once Levi gave Chalitza to Sarah, then Rivka is Shalom Makom Mitzvah, therefore she's back in the Isa Karis of Eshesah. I mean, you have to add another point over here. Maybe this is obvious, it's simple, but that the Chalitza to Sarah removes Rivka from the parasha of Yibum. Theoretically, we could have said the following, that, okay, Sarah received Chalitza. But Rivka didn't receive Chalitza. She's still tied to this marriage, to this mitzvah of Yibum. But the answer is no. That once Levi chose, he could have chosen Rivka, but he chose Sarah, and he gave Sarah Chalitza. That removes the entire Zika, even as far as Rivka is concerned. So Rivka now goes back into the situation of Ashes Ach, Shalom Makom Yibum. And there's no need for Chalitza to Rivka. Yalatzora bein hu ubein ha'achim chayovim alatzora kares. So that even though the Torah downgraded the Isa kares of Eshesach vis-a-vis the Choleks, but that's only with regard to Sarah. But that downgrade from kares to a lav does not apply to the tzara. It only applies to the chalutza herself. Now, what's the logic here? What bothers me is that Levi made what seems in my mind to be an arbitrary decision to give Chalitza to Sarah. The impact of it is downgrade vis-a-vis Sarah, but not vis-a-vis Rivka. As far as Rivka is concerned, we remain with the Erev of Eishes Ah. We don't have this puzzle of even a base. Of Yochanan Omar, Bein hu ubein ha'achim, einam chayovim lo al chalutza kares v'lo al tzara kares, ela, but rather it's a lot. So Yochanan understood that whatever the ach hacholes, in this case Levi, he's doing it sort of on behalf of the entire family. And virtually, not in reality, it's every single one of the brothers gave hach. Let's see what he says. He says, Rabbi Yochanan, Evan, Shezika Sayibum hi al kol neshei habayis ha'kol ha'achim, nechshavim Levi v'Sora, kishlucheim shel shara achim ve'anoshim. Yasurim kulam rak b'la. Okay. My time of the Reish Lakish. Why does Reish Lakish hold that as far as the brothers are concerned, we have an Isakaris here? So what is the Gemara asking my timer, the Reish Lakish? Is the Gemara looking for an explanation for why the brothers are Chayiv Karis, or for why the Choletz is only in violation of Allah? You know, whenever you see my time, you have to ask yourself, what bothers the Gemara? The Gemara obviously needs a Yalfusa, but why? Does Rashi say anything here on my timer? I don't see anything in Rashi. It just seems to Fiani is tied to that my time there is Shlokit should mean why does the Choletz get downgraded from Kares to a lot? You know, as far as the brothers are concerned, I think it's intuitively logical that they should have a status of Kares Erev Shesah. And that's true for the Choletz as well. There must be some compelling reason why, according to Reish Lakish, the Choletz is reduced to a lot. But the only thing that bothers me, if that's the Gemara's kasha, then the Gemara should have attacked Rabbi Yochanan. On the kasha, Rabbi Yochanan, who went even a step further. And they're all only B'la. Maybe the Gemara is asking about the inconsistency. The Gemara is not happy with this relativity theory. I mean, if you're telling me, if you're telling me that nothing changed over after the Chalitza, maybe they should all be included in a few of Karis. If you tell me the Torah says, no, let's downgrade it from Karis to La, that should apply to everyone. So let's see if we can work backwards. I don't usually like to work backwards. But on the Gemara's answer, maybe we'll figure out what was the Gemara's question. Omar Kro, Asher Lo Yivne, which I guess is a lav, even Shalobana, Shuv Lo Yivne. Iu Hu Dekoy Lo Yivne, Avo Achi Echav Hidekaimi Kaim. So I guess it was he, the Choles, who made that decision, Lo Bana. That was his decision. I'm not going to build this house with Yibum. And the Torah says, Asher Lo Yivne is based Achiv. And this is a lav to substitute for kares. And that lav only addresses the choletz himself. Because he's the one who made that decision of lo yiv. What I think the Gemara is saying here is that if I only had human logic, I would assume that on all the brothers there should be an Isa or a Sebaceous. Ella, what the Torah says, Lo Yivna. Okay, Lo Yivna is a lot, but that's only with regard to the person who made that decision of Lo Yivna. It doesn't have any impact on the other brothers. Now, what's the status of Levi with regard to the Rivka? The Gemara says, Allah dida hu dekai below yivne, ha sara kedekaimi kaim. So it sounds to me like, again, the Gemara is just extending the same logic. That mitzad svara, if there's no yibum, then we're back to square one, back to the old well-trodden path of the Isakari Saveshasah. That applies to the other brothers, and it applies to the Tzara, meaning to Rivka, because his chalitza was to Tzara, not to Rivka. Rabbi Yochanan, what does he hold? Be kamidi, can it be, to make kara iboy haichos? Remember, we used the word arbitrary, like it was an arbitrary decision on the part of, we'll call him Levi, to decide that he wants to give chalitza to Sarah and not to Rivka. The flip of the coin. In fact, maybe you guys know, I don't even know why he chose chalitza to Sarah. Mikara iboy haichol, it's iboy haichol. You flip a coin. I'm sorry. I didn't read it correctly. Iboy haicholitz, iboy haicholitz. All the brothers are equal in the zikas yibum and the mitzvah yibum. Any brother could have given a chalitza. The iboy lahaicholitz, iboy lahaicholitz. He could have given chalitza to Rivka just as well as he gave chalitza to Sarah. So any of the brothers are potentially the choletz, and any of the wives of the late Yehuda are potential recipients of chalitza. Bahashta, now that one of the brothers was choletz to one of the Yevamas, is koy Allah b'karetz. And I think the word koy here is in plural. So I interpret it to refer to all the brothers. And for that matter, all the tzaras. And koy Allah b'karetz. Yeah, but it says Allah. Allah is in the singular. Should have said alive. That would have been better for me. How does he translate koy Allah b'karetz? Do you have something, Steve? Or he's going to be ambiguous? Can't hear you.
He just used singular. Now he.
Because in the Hebrew translation, he writes, Yamdu shar ha'achim, v'shar tzars b'sukaret. Alo chalitzas ach echad, he b'shlichus kol ha'achim. V'chein chalitzas yevama achas, he b'shlichus kol ha'yevamos. Rabbi Yochanan is saying, I don't see any difference between him and the rest of the brothers. I don't see any difference between her and the rest of the tzaras. Ella, iu shlichusa de achim tov, and I shlichusa de tzarakov. So they're all working on behalf of each other. One brother on behalf of the other brothers. And if the Torah down leveled, downgraded the Issacharites to an Issalav, that's true for all the brothers. I wonder if this word shlichus is meant to be taken literally. He quotes here apparently a girsa according to which the Rabbi Yochanan lulei Allah hayikola achim chalatzaros mutarim gam. That's pretty wild. And he writes, "L'das reish lakish ein chalitzas echad hayavamin v'achas hayavamot nasos b'shlichus kulam. Mashe kulam niftarim b'chalitza zu ein mishum shlichus. V'ein zeh netshav shekulam b'chlal ma'aseh chalitza zeh. Al kein ein b'chlal anes hanit." So we have to ask the following question: if Reish Lakish rejects the concept of shlichus, so why is it that the Sarah, was called her Rivka, is allowed to marry him? The chalitza was to Sarah, not to Rivka. if you hold like like Rabbi Yochanan, that Sarah is the agent who is deputized by Rivka or by all the other tsaras, that's one thing. And we all understand that they each, so to speak, got chalitza. Not literally, but halachit. And therefore they can get married. But if you're going with Reish Lakish and there's no din of shlichus here, there should be a requirement of shlichus on for each and every one of the tzara. Umashem mutaras kulam l'shuk ve'en aleim zika af mishara achim umishum shal yedei chalitza gloi milsum afreya im lechatchila lo nofla liyibu el lechalitza zubilva. So he's applying a principle here called the Gloi Milsum Afreya. Wow. Very difficult. This is the point. Now, look, the honest truth is that if Reish Lakish rejects shlichus here, that doesn't bother. I can really, I can commend her. I can empathize. But to say that now we're going to apply it, Gloi Milsum Afreya, that the brothers didn't fall for Yibum. Sorry, that the Tsaros didn't fall for Yibum. That's why. See, Rabbi Yochanan has the upper hand because the Chalitza is on behalf of all the Tsaros. Hence, each one of them is now Muteres L'Shuk. But Reish Lakish rejects the whole mechanism of the application. So, what are we saying? That they didn't fall for Yibum. That's why.
Well, if he does chalitza, then she becomes Ashes. Now she's a Sarah paramount. Or whatever.
Wow, that's a whole new. You're not saying what he's right now. So let's try. Let's try to digest what you're saying. That if according to Reish Lakish, she didn't receive chalitza, so wait a minute. What are you saying? I mean, why doesn't if she's part of the Zika?
And he gave chalitza to Sarah.
Right. So now we're talking about Rivka. What happens with Rivka?
Now Sarah is Ashes.
Well, yes and no. I mean, everybody agrees that we downgrade her to the status of a chalutza vis-a-vis the cholitz. But
to the others, she's Ashes. Rivka
Oh, you
is
want to
Sarah
s-
of an Ashes. So Levi's the only one that could somehow still marry her. Just like you could. Sarah had
okay. But how does that explain? Oh, so you're coming back to the same conclusion that no zikas yibum. We're going to put her back into the original category of chamesh Yisrael Moshe. Reish Lakish. The only problem is, I mean, yesterday we discussed the Machlok Shem, the Meiri and Ramban. Let's take the Ramban sheet as an extreme example. According to Ramban, the Iser Chalutz is a brand new Iser. and the Isra Shach is completely gone. So I don't understand why Rivka would be a Tsaras error. Now, let's say you take the Meiri's approach. Meiri says we're still within the confines of Eishes Ach, but it's a downgraded Eishes Ach. It's like a branch of Eishes Ach. That's no longer the Chiyuv Kares, but the Chiyuv La. But even so, I don't think that Sarah would be anything more than a Tsaras Isa La. Let's say, for example, two women were married to Reuven, and Reuven dies. And one of these two women is, let's say, a Ba'ula L'Kohen Gadol. I don't think that we part about Sarah from Yibum to Chalitza. Maybe Yibum, but not Chalitza. Even more, Reish Lakish doesn't deny that it's vis-a-vis the Chalutza itself, the Cholitz and the Chalutza, that is a lot. He's saying, Gloy Milsum Farflea, Shalachatilo Naflo Liyimu. That Chalitza accomplishes two things. Number one, it's matir this Chalutza to the Shuk, and number two, it has an impact on all the other wives of the late brother, that all these wives were never in the parish of Yibum to begin with. And therefore they don't need Chalitza, they can just freely go get married. But if he's not willing to say that the Chalitza relates to each one of the women, because then you're stuck with the problem of why there's an Isa Kares. You should be downgrading the Lav, for the Kares to a Lav, which is Rabbi Yochanan. So he's not willing to accept that the Chalitza to Sarah relates to Rivka. And on the other hand, he wants to be Mata Rivka L'Shuk. Without a Chalitza, how can he do that? There's no other choice but to say that now Igloy Milsum Afreya, that Rivka never fell for you. Again, that's just a wild idea. Now he goes a step further. He writes, V'chein Lo Nafla, now we're talking about Sarah, Ela L'fnei HaCholitz Bilvad. She never fell for evil to the other brothers. I mean, you begin to see where Rabbi Yochanan had a problem with Reish Lakish. I mean, this woman fell for evil to all the brothers. Any of the brothers could have been Yavim. No. She never fell for evil to Yehuda. She only fell for evil to Levi. Why? Because Levi was the Cholitz. I understand that Levi was the Cholitz, but any of the brothers would have been a candidate Cholitz. And this is all of my friend. There's another line here which I don't understand. He writes about Rashba of Shalareish Lakish, Bitsara Ika Kares, Mishum Sha'achar Shismata Bilo Yivne, Ukmina La Aldina, Kilo Hutra Liyim. That's as far as Rivka is concerned. Lo Hutra Liyim. Okay, that explains these occurrences. But how does that answer the question of how Rivka is mutar? Aval chalutza atzma parcha Yisrael shetzak mimenu misor. Even enough below the chalitza believe. Sounds like the Rashba is also saying very similar, that the other wives did not fall for evil. He also used the word nefila. He says, "Bukmina lo aldina ki ilu lo hutrali." Like she has no nefila. He's also operating apparently with Glory Milsul and Affair. This is wild. Amish wild. Esvei Rabbi Yochanan l'Reish Lakish acholetz liyavimto v'chazav v'kitshavu meis tzricha chalitza min ha'achim v'shleim l'didi diamrina chayvei lavin ninu hainu d'tzricha chalitza min ha'achim l'didach amai tzricha chalitza. In other words, there can't be Kedushin Tovsin because vis-a-vis the other brothers, she's an Erev of Eishes Ha. Again, according to Reish Lakish, I don't understand why tzricha chalitza min ha'achim. He writes here, Afal gav she'tofsu ba'kedusha she'eino elo b'lav v'kedusha tos chavilah. Mikol makom ala achim yasura v'isakari shel ervas eishes ach. V'chayve krisis pturos min ha'chalitza min ha'yim. Now I assume, tell me if you agree with me, that when he says eishes ach, he's talking about Yehuda, right? The original ach. Because if you're only focused on eishes ach of Levi, then I would say that to the extent where Levi's marriage with Sarah is recognized, valid, so therefore there isn't a feeler for even to the brothers. I don't think we can talk about an Erev of Eishes Ach with regard to Levi, but rather it's Eishes Ach of Ruth. Does that make sense? Reish Lakish says the following: Uletamech. In other words, you're not out in the clear either of Yochanan. Amos safe. Let's look at the next part of the brayso. Omar echad min ha'achin v'kitsha ein alav klum. Ve'i chayve lavin amai ein alav klum. And he says that the words ein law of klum einot tzricha mimenu get. We don't recognize the marriage. How could that be? Kedushin toksin v'chayve lav. But according to me, Reish Lakish says it makes a lot of sense because we said that the chiyuv kares is chal vis-a-vis the other brothers, and ain't kedushin toksin v'chayve lav, chayve krisis. Now, again, I don't think Reish Lakish is in a, you would say at first glance, Reish Lakish is dodging the question. So what's he saying? That the Seifa of brayso is difficult according to Reish Lakish, according to Rabbi Yochanan. But how does that save him from the onslaught of the Rishon? So he says, Im Kain, Benkach uBenkach Tvua Brisa, Bein Rabbi Yochanan, Bein Reish Lakish. Now, again, I'm not sure what I'm going to tell you is correct, but from my past experience, it seems like when you have a brisa that has a problem, then you sort of you ignore the brisa. That's called mishabeshta. The ratio of the brisa indicates clearly that the status of the relationship between Sarah and the rest of the brothers is that of Chayvei Lav. But the seif of the brisa clearly indicates that it's Chayvei Krisis, because otherwise, why does it say Ein Lo Love Klum? Rav Sheshes says we have no choice. We're going to have to split this price into two, and the ratio reflects one sheet and the sefer another sheet. He writes here, he's defending Rabbi Yochanan. And now the ratio fits beautifully. That since we're dealing with Chayvei Lavin and Kedushin HaTolzin, therefore she needs Chalitza from the Nach. What do we do with the Sefer? Sefer Asa and Rabbi Akiva. The Omer ain't Kedushin Tosel v'Chayvei Lav. And that's why, if one of the brothers marries her, then Ein Lo Ba Klum. Ein Lo Love Klum, because we're holding like Rabbi Akiva with regard to what? The Ein Kedushin Tosel v'Chayvei Lav. I mean, obviously, that's not your first choice. That's not an ideal way of learning a price. The Gemara actually rejects Rabbi Sheshes, but for a totally different reason. The listening, Ulid Divrei Rabbi Akiva Ein Lo Alav Klum. So what's he commenting? He's objecting because in the Sefer, so the Sifter writes, Imachen Shnuya Sefer B'Shitas Rabbi Akiva Lomet Shitza Braysa Me'anidon Hashonui Bereisha V'Over Ladun B'Din Kedushay Ha'ach Malo Hoyla Lahamshich V'Oso Din the listener Lashanos Hakol Vas Akas Hakolitz Liabimto V'Chazar V'Kidsho Meis the Din Rabbi Akiva Ein Lo Alav Klum. What does that mean? Ein Lo Alav Klum. In other words, the Cholitz himself, according to Rabbi Yochanan, the Cholitz himself sure is. In other words, why did you have to come up with the sefer, in which case one of the other brothers marries them? And was saying, according to Rabbi Kiva, in Kiddushin Tov, same level of Klum, forget about the other brothers. What about the first brother? What about the Cholitz himself? If you tell me that the Cholitz himself remarried her, and now she falls for Chalitza to the Achim, so that makes sense only according to the Chachamim, but according to Rabbi Akiva, she doesn't need Chalitza min ha'Achim because Levi's Kiddushin are not Tofos. So why do you have to introduce the question of if one of the other brothers married her? Just tell me that the marriage of this brother, Levi, is not valid, so therefore she doesn't need Chalitza after Levi dies, because Levi is not related, he's not married to Sarah. Kash. So Gemara leaves that with the Kash. Rav Ashi Sogalak Reish Lakish. Mitaritz Rabbi Shimon. Ravina Sogalak Rabbi Yochanan. Mitaritz Kirabon. Rashi Sogalak Reish Lakish. Mitaritz Lakish. Acholitz living to because of the kitcha. Stricha chalitza min ha'achim. My achim. The achim hayiludu. He says, "We go Ruvain, Shimon, Levi, Yehuda achim. Nasa Yehuda es Ora. Umeis Yehuda below Bonim. Enough l'sarf nea achim liyibum. Cholatz Levi l'sara. Benesra al yidei kach b'la. Yala achim b'karetz." Oza Levi b'kitcha, the akach nolad lehem achim Yisachar uzvulim. I guess from the same father, right? The original father. That's going to be Achiv Shalohoy Bolam, all right? Umeis Levi below Bonim. Benofla Sarah Lifnei Achim Liyib. Ariafal Pisha Sarah Tura Michalitza Miruvain. The Shimon. If it's Shenesra Aleim Bekares Bechalitzas Levi, Chayeves Bechalitza Misachar Uzvulun L'Shitas Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon holds that it's only Eishes Achiv Shalohoy Ba'olama. In a case where the Yibum took place after he was born. So in this case, in this case, what happens? Right, afal pi shesora ptura michalitza mireuven v'shimon kevin shenesolel kares b'chalitza seged chayeves b'chalitza misachar uzvulin l'shitas Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Shimon doesn't hold from Eishes Achim Shalohay Ba'olam. Therefore, Ein HaChalutza Asura Aleim B'Kares. Mishum she'ein chalitzasa osrasa eli achim she'oisa zkukala. V'chalitza ifkia zikasam. Aval elu she'noldu li'achar she'cholatz achkeim v'kitsha. Benkach lo hoya lehem ba zikas yibu miruve. Lo pola chalitza klum l'gabeim. So the chalitza of Levi doesn't have any impact vis-a-vis Sachar and Zvulun, because they had no zikas even for Reuven. They didn't share any time on this earth with Reuven. The af mishmeshes echad e'achiv shlohei b'olama ein li osra leim mishum shenoldu liachar shekvaris kadsha lacholis. So that's an important point, right? So the birth of Yisachar and Zvulun took place after Levi was Mekadesh. Keman, Rabbi Shimon. So Shimon holds that Levi, who was born after the Yibum of Shimon, Teishes Ruvain, is Miyavim, the Yevama of Levi. Sorry, the Yevama of Shimon. It's who Miyavim Yevama Zu Liachar Shemei Shimon. Ein hi asura olav mishum Ruvain achiv shalohay ba'olam. Again, so let's go back to the Brisa for a minute. What does the Brisa say? Chazar acholitz yivim to chaz be'kitcha u'meis tzricha chalitza min ha'ach. She needs chalitza min ha'ach. Now, why does she need chalitza min ha'achim if that chayv increases according to Reish Lakish? But if we introduce Rabbi Shimon here into the equation, then if new brothers come onto the scene, right, that were born subsequently, what were the names that we gave? Zvulun and Yisachar. So she needs chalitza from those achim, according to Rabbi Shimon. That's how we're going to reconcile this Brisa. I'll leave it to Reish Lakish. Okay, then, so what I suggest is that tomorrow we'll go over of Ashi. Tomorrow's what, Tuesday? And I think we have the flow of the Gemara now, so it's good. So this is a little easier than what I think before. And then we still have Yalkut, have the Urim. on page Ayin Tes. I don't know if you have that.